Your Excellencies, the President of the United States.
Let's get this over with.
You know, if a developer came along and built 20 homes on one side of a highway and 20 homes on the other, and the one side had people with black and brown backgrounds, and the same exact home was built in a white neighborhood, guess what? The day you own that home, that black home is worth 20% less than the white home, or the Hispanic home is worth 20% less. I also met another mother named Latree. Latree Shue. Where's Latree? Latrice, excuse me. I'm going on too long. I apologize. But
our president, he's in the ring. He's in the ring. Just think about.
When it comes to Alzheimer's, thank you. When it comes to Alzheimer's, thank you.
And to put this in perspective, whatever prescription you have made by any American drug manufacturer, jump on Air Force One, they'll fly to any country, any major city in the world, from Toronto to Berlin to Baghdad, anywhere around the world. We'll get off the plane, you bring that prescription into that country, you'll be able to buy it for 40 to 60% less. It's wrong. So guess what? When we began to manufacture, we negotiate with, when I said, look, Medicare buys all these drugs, billions of dollars worth to take care of Medicare and Medicaid. It's going to expand their engineering to over 10,000 additional students. 10,000 additional engineering students. Wages are up more than prices. Inflation is down dramatically. We have more to do, I get it, we have more to do. But no question our plan of delivering for the American people is working now.
The president also facing headwinds as he arrives in Arizona. Certainly the economy is a big one. Prices are up 20% across the board since he took office.
This is interesting. Just 13% of Americans say they've gotten better financially since the president took office.
Make no bones, everybody has the right to organize, man, to have their labor rights protected. And look, for it. The fact is that I shouldn't probably get started on it, but because I promised I'd be brief, because I want to say hello to every one of you. But look, this election is not a referendum on me. It's an election between me and a guy named Trump. You know, when I get criticism some places for having such a strong interest in Latino voters and Latino Americans and people here in the country, I point out to them, I say, can you imagine when you have 28% of all the students in public school are Latino, and nationwide, anybody who doesn't pay attention is really stupid. And we've cut deficit by the time it's out, over $2 trillion. We've cut the deficit. And I was able to get a 15% minimum tax on them and paid for every single thing we did and still cut the budget $1 trillion. And while I'm paying for it, we're also reducing the federal debt at the same time. You know, the Republicans talk about, big tax and Democrats. Give me a break. Come on. I've already cut the federal deficit by $1 trillion since I took office.
The gap between what the government spends and what it earns widened to $1.7 trillion in the fiscal year that ended last month.
Monthly budget deficit for the United States for December of 2023 was $129 billion. That's $44 billion higher than it was a year ago in December when it was $85 billion. That's an increase of 52%.
The Nonpartisan Congressional Budget Office now projecting that the deficit will hit $2.3 trillion this year. That's 25% larger than it had previously forecast.
We're the only nation in the world that's gone through, like a researcher in history, The only nation in the world that has gone through every crisis we've ever gone through, we've come out stronger than we went in.
We have made so much progress together, but we know that there is still work to be done, which is why we are going to organize.
I want to thank my campaign manager, you heard speak first. She is, it's a little bit in her blood. Cesar Chavez is her grandfather. He's the guy that got me interested. He came to Delaware when I was running in I won't even tell you when.
Try to remember what it was that first got you involved in politics to begin with. I remember for me what it was.
I got involved in politics for two reasons, only two, at the front end of my career. Civil rights and the environment. Voting rights. Voting rights. Voting rights. That's how I got involved in politics. We ended that damn war. That's why I ran the Vietnam War. That's what got me involved in politics in the first place, a thing called redlining. I got involved in politics because of the poor and the disadvantaged. I got involved to try to stop the construction of that highway, which I did. That's what got me involved. I quit the law firm and asked for a job to become a public defender. That's what sort of got me involved in politics. I got involved in politics to begin with because of civil rights and opposition to white supremacists, the Ku Klux Klan. It's all about family. It's all about community. And it really is. That's what got Pete engaged. That's what got him involved. That's what got me involved. I got involved in politics because of the neighborhood I came from. The reason why I got involved in politics, the reason why the president I ran, the president got involved, is the one primary role for government is to protect people. I was at the signing the Voting Rights Act. It's been the only constant in my entire political career. That's what got me involved in politics. And I got involved because my state was the only state in the Union when Dr. King was murdered that was occupied by the National Guard.
I ran for public office because of the burning, how can I say it, the almost bile that was in my throat about watching Bull Connor's dogs on television in the 50s.
These same issues relating to what constitutes decency and honor in this country. It's just a thing that got me involved in public life to begin with.
The confluence of those sort of basic values, the things everybody has to overcome in their life, and what you in fact basically liked naturally, all seem to, in retrospect, move me in a direction that got me involved in public issues and public life.
My political hero got me involved in politics, and there's a lot of great men, and the two Kennedy brothers who are deceased were great.
Folks, it's simple. That's why I got involved in the first place. Inflation keeps coming down, and it's predicted to do that. Mortgage rates are going to come down as well. If we drove out to the airport and put you on Air Force One, you said you had a prescription needed filled, and it was an American company that made it, I'd say, okay, let's fly to Toronto or to Berlin or to London or to Rome or any major city in America. I'll get you that same prescription filled in those cities for 40 to 60% less than it cost you at a pharmacy here. Anybody want to trade them with the billionaire tax? I'd take 8.2%. It's far less than the vast majority of Americans pay. No billionaire should pay a lower tax than a teacher, a sanitation worker, a nurse, anybody busting their neck. That's why I'm proposing, if I'm reelected, we're going to get it done. A minimum tax of 25% for billionaires. That's not even the highest tax rate, just 25%. You know how much that would raise over 10 years? $500 billion in 10 years. $500 billion if they just started to pay that. I had the dubious distinction of being listed as the poorest man in Congress for 36 years. I got a phone call. My wife was campaigning up. I was campaigning up in New Hampshire back when that statistic came out in the 90s. And she called. I used to call because the kids were little when I was away. And say, "How's everything going?" And I got this, "Fine." Well, you know you're in trouble when your wife or husband says, "Fine." I said, "What's the matter?" She said, "Only elected officials, husband or wife, could understand this." She said, "Do you read today's paper?" I said, "They don't have today's paper. Wilmington paper, Delaware, up in where I'm with Leahy, up in Vermont." And she said, "Well, let me read it. Top of the fold headline, Biden, poorest man in Congress. Is that true? I thought, I don't know what the hell is true, but it turned out it was true. You've united Europe in a way, you've increased NATO and the border of NATO from bringing in Sweden and Norway. And he says it's changed the world. Trump lost millions of jobs, millions when he was president. It's amazing how the nostalgia for a lost 4 years was. And you're going to be able to get to, not that anybody wants to get to Los Angeles, but people from Los Angeles want to get to Nevada.
You know, Vegas wants him.
I see a future for all of America, a future for my daughters, my 4 granddaughters.
You forgot one.
For the first time tonight, President Biden is publicly acknowledging his 4-year-old granddaughter, Navy Joan, the child of his son Hunter Biden, and an Arkansas woman.
We're the only nation in the world divided and defined. Every other nation is defined based on geography or ethnicity. We're the only nation based on an idea. Think about it. One of the men who helped build that was Edward Blewett, my great-great-great-grandfather. He worked in the town brickyard. In 1828, he was paid, and they gave me a receipt, 21 pounds and 12 shillings to help supply the bricks for that cathedral. It was made, able to touch some. It was made, and I was able to touch some with my own hands, the very bricks he made. Ireland now is one of the top 10 investors in the United States economy, and our country stand proudly for liberty and against tyranny. We stand together and oppose Russia's brutal war of aggression in Ukraine. You can clap for that, please. Great to have you here, and it's very happy to see Northern Ireland's Executive Assembly reinstated last month. Now Northern Ireland is a fully functioning government again, and I didn't admit your colleague. Young people in Northern Ireland represent the great peace dividend of the Belfast Good Friday Agreement.
My question for President Biden is, can you talk a little bit about what is at stake in this election, especially when it comes to health care?
Doc, first I want to thank you. You always are there for your patients. You see firsthand what's at stake. This election is about 2 different visions of America. As basic as that. We'd never have gotten the Affordable Care Act done, period. I called it a historic day. No one knows that better than the greatest speaker in the history of the United States House of Representatives, Nancy Pelosi. This is the guy who doesn't care about science and reason. Remember, during the pandemic, Donald Trump told us to inject ourselves with bleach. He said there's nothing to worry about if you do that.
No.
When it comes to Alzheimer's,